1. So here is some background info. I, female, work at a small Thai ice cream shop that really only gets busy on Saturday nights. I live in a medium-sized town, so this place is sort of popular, but it is also new. This happened on a Tuesday night, and God, I wanted to run from my store as fast as I could, out of embarrassment. So the store was having a really slow night, and I was chatting with my boss, really sweet guy, but only knows a little English. Suddenly this customer walks in, and right off the bat he is sketchy. Wearing a full tux, but has hacked off the sleeves and has the long pointed nails with a mullet. So I do the usual seating and greeting, and my gut was right. As soon as he pays, he immediately asks me to give him all our oldest coins in cash back. My boss just nods at me to do so. So I scan every freaking coin to pull out our top 3. None of them were old enough for him. Oldest was 1988. And he goes on to say he has collections of 1930s coins at home worth lots. I laughed and apologized, and what he did next was weird. He proceeds to tell me about the high school in the area that I attend, but from the good old days. He was telling me why certain rooms were locked up due to him and his friends smoking a crap ton of weed in them, and then proceeds to tell me that he is not a coward and came from Vietnam. I was curious since he just said he went to my high school and looks pretty old, to be honest. He says how he missed seeing dead bodies on the street and he never flinched from them. And this is where things get worse. He goes on to talk about how in California, when he went to school, he had to go through metal detectors, and that he ran a fight club. At this point, he says he is from at least 3 different places, so I'm pretty confused and obviously trying to walk away to clean off other tables. But he keeps talking to me. Was the only guy in the store. He talks about how he remembers the exact phone number and address of his first girlfriend, yet can't remember his own, and asks me why that is, and actually wants a response. I was pretty flustered at this point and tried to say something like, "Oh, maybe you still love her." He laughs, says he has been in an arranged marriage since high school, and then when he picked his wife out, she cried and he laughed at her. Here is what I found actually hilarious. He was wearing this obnoxious gold ring on his middle finger. It had this weird Chinese symbol on it. He shoves his hand in my face and tells me to guess what it means. I say something stupid like courage, and he makes this loud buzzer noise. He proceeds to say it is the Chinese symbol for the word fuck, and then points at my boss to try and make him say it. My boss is flustered, and this guy whispers to me, "His people killed lots of my people," in a really happy voice. He then proceeds to vow to stay in our store till the next person comes in, which took 20 minutes, thank God. He left, staggering out the door, and my boss looked at me really confused, since he didn't really understand half our conversation, and I told him not to worry about it. I've never seen this guy again, or around town at all, but he tipped me like $2, so I guess it's fine. 2. This event happened at the restaurant I currently still serve at about 3 years ago, but when tasked with delivering something truly memorable from the millions of hilarious experiences I've had, this one takes the cake. I work at a restaurant in Ottawa, Canada. It's fine dining, but also has a rich, loungy cocktail atmosphere going on, and DJs play a good variety of disco, funky house and hip-hop on the weekends after 9:30. Around 9:30 or 10 p.m., the staff begins noticing a bit of a funky scent filling the bar area, but it's not completely awful, so no one really thinks much of it. While coming out of the kitchen right by the bar, I notice that a 14-ounce ribeye has fallen off a plate on the way out to a table. This is a high-traffic area, and I decide it must have just happened, and the server must have been on the way back to clean it and ask for a new one on the fly. I grab a broom and go to quickly brush it into the dustpan. This ribeye is a biggie. I remember thinking that someone must have ordered it Chicago style, as it was about as black as Satan's soul. As soon as the brush makes contact with the unit in question, a foul smell is dislodged, and I realize this was no ribeye. This is a log that slipped out of someone's behind while they were on their way to the bathroom. I scream and run with the dustpan outside, and whip the pan into a garbage can near our patio, and on my way back in I notice there's a brown liquid trail on the way down the stairs to the washroom. Somehow no staff actually saw the incident take place, but the proof was in the pudding. After the staff all discusses what's happening, we conclude it must have been a female because the log was fully intact and couldn't have slid down any male's pants, wintertime, no shorts. Even a thong would have sliced this thing in half. This came out of a skirt-wearing female who chose no underwear on this particular day. Our hostess goes into the women's bathroom and notices there's a man in there talking to a woman in the stall, who's lightly sobbing. He seems to have it under control, so she leaves him alone. About 30 minutes later, the man returns to his table, and a woman joins him from the washroom 1 minute later. Here's where things get unbelievable. The woman, who we are 99% sure is the culprit, begins acting like nothing happened and starts getting a little wild, dancing at her table, downing Cosmos, even wooing. Whatever, power to her. Though I'm not sure I could make that level of recovery after shitting a monstrosity in the middle of a high-traffic area of a busy restaurant. Then, when the husband or boyfriend goes to pay the bill, the same man who the hostess saw in the women's washroom comforting the woman, he says, "I'm not paying for these drinks, this restaurant smells like shit." What the fuck? My bartender is the sweetest little soul, so she actually took a few drinks off the bill for this guy because there was no definitive proof it was him and her, but that is the most fucked up thing I've seen go down. 3. Shitty tables all night, but one of my very last ones took the cake. Party of 4, 2 kids, 2 women. I greet them and take their drink order. As I turn to walk away, Lady 1, who caused all types of problems, tells me they're ready to order. Okay, perfect, what would you like? She then turns to Lady number 2 and asks if she was ready, to which she says no. The kids don't even know what they want, I just stood there and waited. Normally I would have walked away, but I figured this was the only break I'd get all night, so I just stood there. Finally, they give me their order. Kid number 1 wants mini sliders with fries. Kid number 2 wants a sweet potato loaded. The 2 women were going to share a 16-ounce ribeye cooked medium well. Perfect, and some more bread for the table? They say yes. So I go get their drinks. Plus had to grab other stuff for other tables. I drop off the drinks and they snap at me asking where the bread was because the kids are starving. I said the bread's not ready yet, it'll be a few more minutes, but I'll bring some as soon as it comes up. They didn't like that answer, because they just glared at me. So I go grab the bread and drop it off and they say, "Can we get some not so burnt?" "We can't eat this." It was nowhere near burnt, it was honestly almost perfect. I said, "This batch is fresh out, it'll probably be another 10 minutes before I can get you some the way you want it." As I reached for the basket that I just dropped, they said, "No, leave this here. Just bring us some not burnt." Whatever. I go tell our guy who bakes the rolls what they say and he's like, "They're crazy. They don't want it this way, it'll just come out as raw dough." So I found the softest looking basket that had just come out and told them this is as good as he can make it. It's whatever, said Lady number 1, as she's inspecting the bread. A good 10 minutes pass and my co-worker says this table just yelled at her to come find me. So I go up to them. Lady number 1 is on the phone and number 2 asks if I could go check their order because there might be an emergency they need to take care of. I asked if they wanted us to box up their food and she said, "No, just go check on it." As soon as I turned around, my co-worker was coming out with the food. "Look, ma'am, it's right here." I pass out the kids' food. And I hand Lady number 1 their ribeye and the first thing she says is, "You gave me a burnt steak." It did look a little charred, but sometimes our kitchen over-seasons the steaks. When I order steaks for myself, it does come out that way sometimes, but the steak temperature is always perfect. So I tell her, "I'm sorry, sometimes they tend to over-season them, but if you cut into the steak and let me know if its temperature is cooked right." "No, it's burnt," and hands me the plate. I grab it, and I might have unintentionally pulled on it a little too harsh for her, and she yells, "Don't be angry." "No one's angry at you, ma'am. I'm gonna get this fixed for you." I get the kitchen working on a new one, and let them know it'll be out shortly. Another 10 minutes pass by, and they yell for me again. "Where's our steak?" I tell her I'll go check on it, but let her know it does take a while because of the size and temperature they want. Again, didn't like my answer. The kitchen says it's not gonna be ready for another while. So I go back to let them know, and Lady number 1 is standing by our point of sale yelling at my co-workers to get a manager, and that they just sent back another steak. I was like, WTF, they only ordered 1 steak. How would they send back another one? 5 minutes later, steak is ready, and manager drops it off. She doesn't like it and wants a whole new steak. My manager told her, "Ma'am, you just said this one was taking too long, and now you want to wait for another one?" She just says forget it and to take it off the check, so he took it off and dropped off the check, to which she says, "Never mind, we do want it, just cook this one up some more." Cool. I don't want to go back there at all. I just stood by the point of sale the rest of the time and took care of the rest of the tables I had. She asks for a to-go box, and when I hand it to her, she snatches it out of my hand, but wants to yell at me for snatching the plate earlier when I didn't, but okay. I'm still standing at the computer. She pays out, I give her her change, and she counts it in front of me, sticks it in her purse, and they leave. I'm also pretty sure I've had her before because she's the only one that has complained about perfectly baked bread being too burnt. So that comment reminded me of her. She was just never that hostile before. And now I know what she looks like for good. Hopefully she won't come back. 4. Just for backstory, I'm an avid pin collector, and have 100 plus at my house. I've been collecting for a year now, and I'm very proud of all my different pins, especially considering that any given pin could have cost anywhere between $1 to $15. The most I've ever paid for one pin was $25, but the most expensive one in my collection cost about $60, found it at a pin swap. So I have sunk quite a bit of money and time into this hobby, but I genuinely love it, and don't mind spending the spare money when I have it. Now, the whole left pocket of my server apron is covered with about 20 of some of the favorites that I own. I'm the only server at my work with anything on my apron, so it's a good way to set myself apart. Not only that, but it's a good way to connect to certain customers if they see one from something they also like, which increases my tips. Kids also love them, and the conversations with them typically end with me showing them pictures of my whole collection, small talk about where I get them from, and a 25% tip for including and being so kind to the little ones. Then we all leave with a pleasant experience, right? Wrong. So I was working the morning shift at the little German restaurant I work at. We were completely dead like always. There was only one other two-top in the restaurant and a couple of regulars at the bar when this family of 3 come in. A mom, dad, and their small, probably 3 or 4-year-old son. I go up, greet them, and I'm in the middle of my introduction when I hear the son scream, "Mama, Mario!" referring to my pair of Mario and Luigi pins. I immediately see an opportunity to start being friendly with these folks, so I start to ask him about his favorite games, and he tells me about his new Switch, and I act jealous, which makes him smile. I don't normally like kids very much, but he was cute and seemingly polite up until this point. I finish up their drink order, and as I'm walking away, I hear the boy go, "Mama, I want the Mario and Luigi." And the reply, "Okay, we'll get it for you." Alright, weird wording, but I figured she just meant she'd buy him a set when they got home. I come back with their drinks, and when I set them down, the mother says, "Excuse me, my son wants some of your pins." Thinking she was asking where I got them from, I chuckle, and tell her it was part of a 4-piece set you could get cheap on this specific website. Annoyed by this, she says, "No, he wants yours. Right now," and puts her hand out like I was supposed to just drop them in there. I was pretty shocked, as I only half believed people like this existed. I really did try to be as polite as I could, so I replied, "I'm sorry, miss, but I don't give away my pins to my friends, let alone strangers. I hope you understand. Are you all ready to order?" She is furious at this point. "Excuse me, are you serious?" "Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, it's really nothing personal." "He wants it, and he's been good all this year," it's mid-February. "He deserves it. You have lots. How can you be so selfish? It's from a kid's game, and video games are for boys anyway." "Look, I bought it with my money, and I'm not just giving it away." Starts to address the son. "I'm really sorry, little man. They're just not up for sale right now." Kid looks dejected but stays silent. "So are y'all ready to order?" They begrudgingly order, and I go back to the server station to input the order when suddenly I feel hands slip around my waist. I obviously freaked the hell out. Who the hell is grabbing me from behind? So I spin around and yell, "What the hell?" Only to be greeted by the little boy looking mortified that he had been caught trying to steal the pins right off my apron. I didn't yell exactly, but I was angry and loud when I said, "Are you for real? Get back to your freaking table, kid." He started crying and ran to his parents, while I ran to my manager, and told him the whole truth, including me snapping at the child. I told him I was about to go confront them and asked if he would wait at the server station within earshot, in case the lady tried to make up some lie about how I talked to her, and he agreed. I go back out, and oh man, has hell broke loose. The son's crying, the mom's infuriated, and the dad is just watching the whole thing go down like he's been the whole time. As soon as I show my face, Mom goes off. "Who do you think you are to talk to my son that way? He's a child. He saw a toy and you, a grown-ass woman, told him he couldn't have it because it was yours. What did you expect him to do?" Trying to be as nice but firm as possible because I'm terrified of conflict, and this is putting my stomach in knots. "Ma'am, your son was told he could not have someone else's property politely and calmly. You threw a fit over that. Then your son was caught in an employees-only area trying to steal it right off my body, and he scared me to death while doing it. We're lucky I didn't take a swing at him as I turned around because I didn't know who was grabbing me. I'm sorry I raised my voice, but you gotta understand he cannot do that." "Are you dumb? He's just a kid and you told him he couldn't have something he wanted. Just give him the damn pin." "No. I take pride in my collection, and I'm not going to just give them away to whoever likes them." "You can't speak to me like that, young lady. I want to talk to the manager." So the GM comes out and listens to her spew lies and exaggerations about how rude and inappropriate I've been. He tells her the exact same thing I did about how the son overstepped, and how I don't owe her anything except friendly service, which he believed I gave her. He then adds, "You're lucky she doesn't want to press charges for attempted theft." The mother is still livid, but her whole demeanor changes to fear. "You know what? We don't need this crap. Come on. And you too, let's go. We will never be coming back to this dump. We will ruin you." And then she storms out. With all the excitement, my manager and I completely forgot about their food and payment until it was too late. I offered to pay for all of it because I did feel, but my GM insisted it wasn't my fault, and he would just comp the food entirely because he's awesome. So moral of the story, teach your kids that stealing is wrong, and to respect other people's property. Also to keep their hands the hell away from people they don't know. 5. 4 p.m. Me going to a coffee shop a block away from my job to get a cup before my shift. Start chatting it up with the cute cashier. She asks me where I work. I introduce myself and say the restaurant right around the corner. She goes, "Oh awesome, I'm grabbing drinks there with a friend later. Little friend date. This extra shot's on me." So I was like, cool, little flirt. Hope to see her later at work, maybe chat it up more. So fast forward. It's a slow night, snowy and rainy outside, but we still get a happy hour pop. Within 15 minutes back to back, I have 5 tables sat, no big deal. One of them is a guy by himself, but the host told me he's waiting for someone. I offer to get him a drink while he waits. He orders a drink and a nap. Says to me, "Yeah man, just waiting on my girlfriend. She should be here shortly." Guess who shows up 15 minutes later? Coffee girl. At the table with this guy, her boyfriend. I'm like, oh, guess I misread the flirt. Things happen. But then I remember she did explicitly say friend date. I go over to greet her and she goes, "Framing hips, right? Thought I remembered your name." The guy gets defensive and like, "Oh, you guys seem pretty friendly." She then points to the guy and goes, "This is my friend. I met Framing Hips today and told him we were having a little friend date." Well, I saw the blood drain from this dude's face. I'm thinking, oh god, this dude thinks he's on a date and she just friend-zoned him in front of me. And I'm the other guy to him, and I don't even know this girl. And now I have to serve them. Well, after that, rather than being a machismo bro, this guy started being really buddy-buddy with me. Talking about how great of a job I was doing, how great of a tipper he is, yada yada. I'm like, I get it dude, you're trying to save face. After a while we all get more comfortable and the awkwardness sort of dissipates between jokes. Then they call me over to ask me a question about polyamory versus monogamy. And if I've ever had a threesome. I'm a pretty wild and crazy guy, so I humor them and open up a bit. It's a slow night, all the guests are happy, paid, or both. So I can spend some time chatting. We get a nice rapport going. I learn the dude is bi. Oh, that's cool. And I'm like, alright, where is this night going? Am I going to have a threesome later? Cutting through the awkwardness, I end up becoming friends with this guy, in a weird way. I sort of lose interest in the girl completely. The more I talked with her, I was like, oh, alright, she's kind of a bitch. Golden rule kind of thing. Would I even want to be with a girl who shut down our date in front of a stranger? This guy, though, he's funny and nice, good looking, seems like it'd be a pal. So at the end of their night, she goes to the bathroom and I start chatting it up with this guy, about how embarrassing the whole situation seemed in the beginning. Guy's super cool, he's like, yeah man, turns out she has a boyfriend anyway, joke's on us. But I live up the street if you want to grab a beer sometime. He tipped 25%. Funny thing is, they friended me on Facebook after. Edit. He just passed my job and ducked in with his buddy to say hey, and we made a beer date. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, number 34. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Oh, in regards to story number 4, I'll never understand the logic of some parents. I mean, surely it's better to take an opportunity to teach your kid that sometimes they're going to be told no, and they'd better learn to accept it, especially at a young age. He's a kid, what did you expect? Well, I expect that you've done your job as a mother, that's what I expect. Well. Actually bought a few pins myself recently. Nothing too fancy or expensive. I was just trying out wish.com, and so far I seem to have got everything. My favourite one is a little one, it's only about £2, maybe £3 with the delivery, I can't remember, of the Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. Obviously it's not a fully 100% accurate rendition, as it's just this tiny little pin, but it's pretty cute and I like it. Oh, and these next 3 videos are the first I've recorded with my new microphone. So you're probably going to, I think the sound quality is not too bad, although I'm probably going to lower the recording volume a little bit. I think it's a little peaky at in certain places. So you might notice some slight changes in the coming week or so while I just I play around with the levels and everything on the new mic. It's not massively different from the old one, but, you know, each microphone has its own nuances you've got to learn to deal with. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.